His name was Tobi, 31 years old. He had everything a man is told to want. A stable job, 5 years at the same company, a small apartment he could afford comfortably, a routine so smooth he could run it with his eyes closed. Wake up, commute, work, commute, dinner, phone, sleep, repeat. For 5 years. On paper, Tobi was winning. No debt, no drama, no chaos. But there was a feeling Tobi could not name. A quiet hum underneath everything. Like a part of him was sleeping, and had been sleeping for so long, he had forgotten what it felt like to be awake. One night, Tobi sat on his couch scrolling through his phone. He came across an old video of himself, 5 years younger. In that video, Tobi was talking about a business idea. His eyes were lit up. His voice had an edge to it. He looked like a man who was about to do something. He stared at the screen for a long time. Then he looked around his apartment. Same furniture from 3 years ago. Same job title from 5 years ago. Same conversations on repeat with the same people about the same things. Nothing was wrong. That was the problem. Nothing was wrong, and nothing was happening. Tobi opened his laptop, out of habit more than purpose. He searched for that old business idea. The notes were still there, untouched, frozen in time like a fossil of a man he used to be. He read through them, and he felt something he had not felt in years. Discomfort. Not the bad kind. The kind that comes right before you remember something true about yourself. He thought about his life today, and the engineered comfort he was living inside. His phone delivered everything instantly. His job required nothing he had not already mastered years ago. His days were so frictionless that nothing in his life was asking anything of him anymore. And Tobi realized something that made his stomach drop. The world he was living in was built to keep him exactly where he was. Every app, every algorithm, every convenience. All of it rewarded passivity. All of it was velvet. And velvet, Tobi understood for the first time, is still a cage. Tobi could not sleep that night. He lay in bed, thinking about the version of himself in that old video. The fire in his eyes, the edge in his voice. Where had that gone? He thought about a conversation he'd had years ago with an older man at the gym. A man who had built 3 businesses, survived 2 of them failing completely, and started again each time. Tobi remembered asking him how he handled the uncertainty. The older man had said something Tobi did not understand back then. Comfort doesn't preserve you, son. It empties you out slowly. You don't even feel it happening. One day you just realize there's less of you than there used to be. At the time, Tobi thought that was dramatic. Lying in bed 5 years later, he understood it completely. His body had not been truly challenged in years. His mind had not been forced to adapt to anything unfamiliar in years. Every system in him that was designed to grow under pressure had simply been told, there is no pressure, stand down. And systems that are told to stand down for long enough don't just rest. They atrophy. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the impediment to action advances action. He understood something most men never learn. That resistance is not the enemy of growth. Resistance is the mechanism of growth. A man who removes all resistance from his life is not protecting his growth. He is starving it. Tobi thought about his nervous system, the way he thought about a muscle he had stopped using. Not broken, just quietly wasting away from lack of demand. He thought about something else too, a word that came to him out of nowhere, but felt exactly right. Velvet rot. The slow decay that happens when nothing in your life has an edge anymore. When everything is soft. When everything is handled. When everything is fine. Tobi realized he had not felt like the main character in his own life for years. He had felt like an audience member, watching his own life happen at a comfortable distance. Never on stage. Never in the arena. Just watching. Scrolling. Existing. The next morning, Tobi did something he had not done in 5 years. He woke up before his alarm, not because he had to, because something in him was already awake before the alarm even had the chance to wake him. He sat with his coffee and opened those old business notes again. But this time he did not just read them. He wrote one new line beneath them. What would I do this week if I knew comfort was the thing killing me? He sat with that question for a long time. Then he answered it, honestly, specifically. Not in vague terms like start a business, but in concrete terms. One uncomfortable conversation he had been avoiding. One skill he had been meaning to learn for 2 years. One version of the old idea, small enough to start that same week. Epictetus said that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Tobi had spent 5 years imagining how hard it would be to disrupt his comfortable life. The imagining had cost him more than the actual disruption ever would have. That week Tobi did 3 things. He sent the message he had been avoiding for 2 years, reaching out to a former colleague about a potential partnership. His hands were shaking when he hit send. Nothing happened for 2 days. Then it did. He blocked out 1 hour every morning before work. Not for his job, for the old idea. No exceptions. The hour felt strange at first. Uncomfortable. His brain kept reaching for his phone out of habit. He kept putting it down. And he canceled one recurring plan that had become pure routine. A weekly hangout that had stopped being meaningful years ago, and had become just another groove in the track his life ran on. None of these were big moves. But Tobi noticed something immediately. For the first time in years, he felt the day had friction in it. And the friction did not feel like suffering. It felt like being alive. Over the following weeks, Tobi kept going, and the way he did it became the exact framework worth understanding. First, he identified where comfort had gone unquestioned the longest. Not his whole life, just the areas that had been frozen the longest without him noticing. His career, his social circle, his daily structure. He went through each one and asked, has this changed in the last 2 years, or has it just continued? The areas where nothing had changed were the areas velvet rot had taken hold deepest. Second, he reintroduced friction deliberately, in small doses. Tobi did not quit his job. He did not blow up his life. He understood that the goal was not chaos, it was demand. He built 1 hour of demand into each day. 1 hour where something was required of him that he had not already mastered. The old idea, a new skill, a hard conversation. Small, but real. Third, he tracked discomfort instead of avoiding it. Every time Tobi felt that familiar pull to retreat back into the smooth and the predictable, he treated that pull as information rather than as a signal to stop. Jack Donovan would call this recognizing the moment the wild man wants to go back into the cage because the cage is warm. Tobi started writing down every time he felt that pull, and then doing the uncomfortable thing anyway. Fourth, he protected the friction from being optimized away. This was the one most men get wrong. The moment something starts working, the instinct is to make it easier, smoother, more efficient. Tobi resisted this. The hour stayed an hour. The hard conversations stayed hard. He understood that the friction itself was the point, not an obstacle on the way to the point. Fifth, he measured his life in additions, not days. Tobi started thinking of himself not as the same person continuing forward, but as a series of versions. Version 1, 5 years frozen. Version 2, the one who sent the message, blocked the hour, canceled the dead routine. He asked himself constantly, is the next version of me different from this one, or just older? Six months later, Tobi's life did not look dramatically different from the outside. Same apartment, same job, for now, but something had shifted underneath all of it. The old business idea was no longer frozen notes on a laptop, it was a real thing, small, early, but alive. The partnership he had been too afraid to reach out for had become a working relationship. The hour every morning had become the most important hour of his day. And the feeling, Tobi could not name 6 months earlier, that quiet hum, that sense of sleeping while awake, was gone. Not because his life became harder, because his life became his again. Marcus Aurelius wrote that very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. But Tobi understood something deeper now. Very little is needed to make a meaningful life either. Just enough friction, applied consistently, to remind you that you are still the one steering. Comfort is not the reward for a life well built. Comfort, left unquestioned, is the slow poison that convinces you a life well built is no longer necessary. If you are sitting where Tobi was sitting, comfortable, stable, and quietly aware that something in you has been asleep for longer than you'd like to admit, then you already know what the next move is. It is not a big move. It is 1 hour, one message, one cancelled routine that stopped meaning anything years ago. Subscribe to Lone Warriors. This is where men come to remember they are not spectators in their own lives. The war starts within.